You are watching a technical assistance video provided by the Family Effect Project, engagement for families, educators, and the community together. Funded through a grant to insource the Indiana Statewide Family Engagement Center. Every learner, every family, every educator.
I am the Director of College and Career Readiness here in Warren Township. And Tabitha Jackson, you all know, is our fabulous lead family liaison facilitator here in our district. And this morning, we are just excited to share with you, really it's a combination of our thought process and our initiative with family engagement, as well as a focus on college and career readiness in Warren Township. And so in addition to the fabulous benefits that we've had with the In Effect grant, we are also recipients of the College Matters grant from Richard M. Fairbanks Foundation. And with that, we've done what I believe are some unique things with that funding as well. And so just want to highlight how we are taking college and career readiness out into the community here in Warren Township. So want to talk with you about taking college and career readiness to the community. So really, Warren, as many school districts are focusing on that college and career readiness journey K-12, we recognize that college and career readiness really begins at the elementary level. We really need students to begin understanding the world of work as young as our youngest students and scholars, really recognizing what careers are and exposing them to the vast majority of careers that are out there beyond the ones that they maybe see at home or see on TV. You know, our typical elementary, what are you going to be when you grow up question, and nurse, doctor, teacher, police officer, fireman, and then usually a superhero, professional athlete, and princess get thrown in there in the mix as well. But really, our goal in our elementaries is really to expose them to a variety of jobs, like a vet tech or construction, engineering, nursing, culinary, entrepreneurs, marketing, all the different jobs, just letting them know based upon what you're good at, what you're interested in, and that we can connect you to find a career that is going to be something that you will be able to do and find fulfillment, enjoy, and be successful at. So at the elementary level, that really begins with that exposure. At the middle school level, we begin to connect their interests and skills. Middle schoolers begin to identify what makes them unique as much as they are trying to fit in at the same time. And we begin exploring more in depth of who they are, what are they good at. By that point, they have a pretty good sense of what school subjects interest them. Are they hands-on people? Are they really into science? Are they really into math? Do they like writing? Do they like technology? Do they like being outdoors? All of those things. And so then we begin that process of connecting their specific interests and skills to careers. And then we start talking about, well, what does that look like beyond high school? Is this something that you're going to be able to get the skills and training while in high school through a career center or a career and technical program? Is this something that's going to require college? Is this something that's going to require an apprenticeship program or on-the-job training? And so with the changing Indiana graduation requirements, students are having to make some of these decisions earlier and earlier. And so as many school districts have done, we're beginning looking at that, preparing for college and careers even as early as an 8th grade class for students to really begin mapping out what their post-secondary path might look like, so that they can enter high school informed and make the best decisions. I hear from a lot of my parent friends of middle schoolers, and their initial reaction to some of those changing graduation requirements were, well, you're telling me my 13, 14-year-old child has to decide in 8th grade what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And that really isn't the case, because and I know many school districts are doing this, but I will speak for Warren, in that we really are wanting students to know what are the options out there and keeping all of those pathways open so that they're not eliminating any of those. What the new graduation requirements do allow students to do is it does provide them with some flexibility for students that do have a clear idea of what they want to do and can really map out and maximize that high school experience to align with their post-secondary goals. So it really is an opportunity for them to, if they're not sure, explore all the avenues of enrollment, enlistment, employment, entrepreneurship, or if they know specifically in 8th grade, 9th grade, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a construction foreman, I want to be a nurse, that they can map out that path through high school and be prepared for that when they graduate. So this morning, the bulk of what I want to talk about is really what we're doing at that high school level to then take those decisions and those opportunities and some of those gaps that we've identified that are keeping some of our young people from going from high school to pursuing that post-secondary education, and how we're addressing those gaps and how we're bringing our families and community together to support our students. So are taking college and career readiness to the community and bringing those resources directly to that. I think you all are familiar with us that have worked together, but for those of us that may not be familiar with Warren Township, we are an urban school district. We're on the far east side of Indianapolis with a little over 12,000 students. We average at about 69-70% of economically disadvantaged students, 14% multilingual English learners, although that continues to grow, about 15% special education students with special needs. Demographics, we are predominantly Black and Brown community with 55% Black, 21% Hispanic, 8% multiracial, and about 15% white students in our district. I also have our Journey of a Graduate. Here we just revitalized our strategic plan, and as many school districts throughout the state and the country are creating those portrait of a graduate, as many school districts call them. In Warren Township, we call that the Journey of a Graduate. And these 6 skills that are shown here are those essential skills that we know all young people need when they leave high school to be successful, regardless of what path they choose. And so that being a community contributor, a critical thinker, a resilient leader, and the adaptability as a learner as well, effective communication skills, and being able to collaborate. We all know in talking to employers and post-secondary institutions and that it's not just the credentials, the college credits, the skills, the knowledge that they need when they leave high school. We need students that have these skills as well, so that we know in all the things that we're doing, we need to develop these skills in our young people. And that's also a big part of what we've incorporated into our community outreach. So our mission in Warren is that we are going to connect a tradition, which is very strong here on the far east side of Indianapolis. We have a saying, we're the pride of the far east side, and it really reigns and resolutes throughout our district and the culture. And for those of you that have visited with us in Warren Township, I think you all saw that firsthand. We're going to connect that tradition with innovation in a safe and caring environment, providing exceptional learning experiences and meaningful relationships with all students and families and employees. The other part of our vision is providing relevant learning experiences. So one of the things that we know in the journey of our students, that we want all of our students to have guaranteed experiences throughout high school, elementary, and middle school that will connect their interests, their skills, their passions to their future beyond education here in grades K through 12. And ultimately partnering with our students, our families, and in the community to prepare all of our students for their future. We're committed to academic excellence, the commitment to our community, which we see not only through this grant, but through our strong investment in family engagement and our positioning of family engagement liaisons in every building in our district, and elevating that leadership role, as well as adding an additional social worker component to that as we move forward as well. So our district truly has a commitment to that community and those relationships with our families. I mentioned the personal learning experiences, access to opportunities, which is, we're going to highlight some of those here, and then strong and supportive relationships, which personally, I don't know any school district that does that much better than Warren. So we are committed to breaking down these barriers to post-secondary success. And so I'm going to talk a lot today about college specifically, but I want to reiterate that when I speak of college, I'm not just talking about your traditional four-year college. I'm talking about community college. I'm talking about certification programs. And please know we recognize not all students take the path to college and not all jobs and careers require that. However, we do know in Warren Township specifically, we have over 60% of our students are graduating from college, or excuse me, graduating from high school, prepared for college, saying that they want to go to college and have that interest. And yet our enrollment rate remains at about 38%. So we clearly identify a need and a gap between those students that say they want to go to college, they're prepared, and yet we're not getting them on that college campus. And so the primary focus of this grant through Fairbanks and College Matters and partnering with our families and community is really closing that gap. And I'm going to share with you where we feel like some of those areas and barriers are. So the foundation sponsored two series of grants. We took advantage of both. For a total of over $1.5 million has been a total amount awarded to our district between 2022 and 2028 is when this grant runs through. And our goal is truly to increase that college and post-secondary enrollment rate by making college and those resources more accessible to all of our students and our families and in our community. And we know that that's going to extend beyond that 7:30 to 2 o'clock Monday through Friday school building experience. It's really going to require a commitment with our families, the community, and beyond school hours, weekends, and other ways that we're going to get our students and families connected to those post-secondary opportunities. So the first part of our grant is we created a journey of a graduate center. So focused around those key skills and looking at how are we supporting our students' journey. The Journey of a Graduate Center is a hub for all things post-secondary, and it's located within our high school. We took a space within our Mediaplex, a fancy name for our library, and we have renovated that space to some small group, a large group, and then some office space. Through the grant, we are able to hire 2 college and career full-time advisors that support the work of our school counselors, our academic coaches, and our other fellow educators within the district. So just again, to provide that additional layer of individualized support for our students and gain access to those post-secondary opportunities. So it is a dedicated space. It is open to families, students, the community. We have extended hours, so it will be open into the evening as well as available on weekends. We have our grand opening September 25th, so we are very excited to invite our community partners and people and families back into the school to see this hub and the center that we have created to support post-secondary support or pursuits for all of our students. We know that just having those advisors in the job center where we can refer students we have 12 high school counselors at the high school to serve about 3,400 students. However, we know that the demands on high school counselors, not only just meeting graduation requirements, making sure students are on track, they also support so much of the mental and social emotional needs of our students, addressing attendance, personal issues, home issues, so many things that they're supporting students. So the Job Center really allows us to provide that individual support for students in that specific area of college and career readiness. So as many of you are familiar with the 21st Century Scholars Program, so we have in our freshman and sophomore class right now, we have over 700 21st century scholars out of approximately 800 to 900 students. So as you can imagine, that is the majority of our students in those cohorts. As we've gone forward with the auto enrollment, those numbers have really doubled. And so for that 21st century scholarship, There are annual things that every student is required. They have to create an account. There's 4 things they have to do every year. And most importantly, they have to keep that GPA at a 2.5 or higher and keep themselves on the right path throughout high school. So what we found is that too often, and when I was a high school counselor at Warren Central, probably one of the most heartbreaking conversations that I would have would be with juniors and seniors that were scholars but didn't really remember or keep that focus or didn't think they wanted to go to college. They didn't really buckle down and do what they needed. And then they hit their junior year and all of a sudden they are focused and they want to go to college and they don't have the GPA to be eligible. And so to tell a student that, yeah, 3 years ago you were eligible for that $45,000, $50,000 scholarship for college, you no longer have that. And those were just gut-wrenching conversations. And so through this grant and through our JOG staff, we are meeting with those students throughout every year throughout their high school career and reminding them, you are a scholar, you are eligible. This is the money value that it's worth. This is what you have to do. You've got to keep that GPA up. We are communicating with our parents and our families, and we're having nights where we're making sure that they understand if your student keeps these grades and stays out of trouble and gets their core diploma and meets these requirements, that scholarship is worth at 4 years of tuition at a state college, which right now is anywhere from about 12 to 14-ish thousand. I haven't quoted or looked up IU or Purdue this year, but in that range, that is a large, large amount of money. And so making sure our families understand the importance of that scholarship as well as the student is a key part of keeping that student on track. So with the JOG Center being able to provide that level of education and support, we anticipate seeing so many more students still being knowledgeable and on track when they graduate, so that their biggest decision is going to be which college they want to go to, not if they can go to college. We also identified in our research that one of the biggest barriers is getting our families into our buildings. Sometimes this is a transportation barrier. Sometimes this is a scheduling barrier, depending if they work second shift or they only, they can't come during the week because of childcare or young kids and those things. So we are trying to remove all of those barriers for evenings and weekends. Now, don't get me wrong. We still have, like every other school district, we have our college and career nights. We have our financial aid nights. We have our back to school nights, all of those events that we all do that do reach a bulk of our families. But we're also trying to make sure that we are accessing all of our families, not just the ones that can come on our traditional events and nights. So in getting creative, we thought, well, just having the space and the time and even offering evenings and weekends isn't enough. We really need to do more. So our solution to that is creating the Journey of a Graduate mobile outreach van. Of all the things we've done, if you get our high school principal talking about this, she gets so excited. So we actually purchased 2 vans. We started with 1 and then we were so excited about it and got such a great deal. We actually ended up buying 2. So I'm going to talk with you first about the mobile outreach van. We took a transit van with the funding from the grant and we equipped it with Wi-Fi, workstation, storage, a generator, office space, so that it literally is a mobile office that can go out into the community. We branded it. It looks amazing. I have a photo here coming up. And so don't get me wrong, we love our van and it's fun to drive around. Some people got to experience that when they came to visit. They got to experience our passenger van, which is the same thing. It's just a passenger van. However, I want to reiterate that these are things that you can do even without a fancy jog van, right? These are things that you could do and take out into your community with a table and a tent and do many of the things. We were just excited to be able to get out there and have a visible visual that is out in the community to help bring our families and connect them. And I'm going to talk about how we're going to do that at the elementary and middle school level as well. So it has the Chromebooks, it has Wi-Fi, it has everything that you would find at a financial aid night or an event here in the school, and we can take that out into the community. Another part of the grant that is an essential part is that we have built in a substantial amount of funding for translation. So we are able to bring individuals that can provide live interpretation and translation at all of our College and Career Readiness events, whether they're in-house or out on the road. We have also invested in technology devices, some handheld devices that will allow for live translation in multiple language. Many of us struggle, at least here in Indianapolis, with the growing Haitian Creole population, and that tends to be a more difficult language to find those translation services. And so again, finding ways to remove that barrier. So looking for both live and technology assisted, those are other ways that we have been able to remove that language barrier. The idea is that we are going to take this van to where our families are. So couple of ideas. We've incorporated the YMCA. They've been a great partner. Our liaisons have been at the YMCA at various times throughout the year, just sharing about Warren, talking to Warren families as they come in and out and take advantage of summer programs, weekend programs, and those. And as we get to the end of this and have time for conversation, Tabitha can share a little bit more about how that outreach has worked for us. But the YMCA is a great partner with us. We anticipate partnering with our faith-based organization. We are reaching out to our faith leaders in the community about being at their church services on a Sunday afternoon and taking the van out there and utilizing the communication through the church of, hey, do you have high school students that are 21st century scholars? Do you need help with your financial aid form? The financial aid process can be incredibly intimidating for the parent and the student. I've worked in schools for 30 years, and when my own children went through college, that FAFSA form was intimidating to me, and I'm a school counselor for a living. So to be someone that hasn't navigated that, to be able to go out and meet people where they are, it doesn't take extra transportation. We can be there and we can have the support and all the experts there to help answer all those questions and eliminate some of those fears. Still a lot of fear sometimes around my financial information and where's that going and what am I sharing? And we can help understand, families really aren't sharing anything that the government doesn't already have, right? So just helping them understand what information is being shared and where that's going, and specifically eliminating some of those fears. And we have the reality of we have undocumented families in our community and the legitimate concerns about that. And we have other resources and ways to be able to provide them. We have a couple of universities here in Indianapolis that have specifically created opportunities for our undocumented students to pursue post-secondary degrees. And because in the traditional form or in the traditional avenue, financial aid, and that is not available. 21st century scholars are not available to students that do not have a social security number. So really helping connect again our families and our students to those opportunities in a safe environment and a place with trusted people that they know that we can help make those connections. We take part at, our van was at the football game last Friday night at the high school. And so right between two food trucks was right there is the College and Career Readiness van at the high school football game. We are going to be at every building in our district at least once this year. So at our district leadership meeting last week, we are going to partner with them on their literacy nights or their STEM nights or even their roller cave, which are local roller skating rink events, which are still a huge hit. Being able to be there for our families, recognizing that they may or may not have high school students, but we can talk with them about what are you doing now in elementary? What are you doing in middle school? How can you be prepared? What is a 21st century scholar? Really providing that K-12 post-secondary access out in the community, not just at school, not just at parent nights, and really making sure our parents are as informed as possible. So these partnerships really help us reach our students and families who may not traditionally be able to attend the financial aid night on a Tuesday at 6 o'clock at the high school, or be able to come to back to school night where we have that information. So really trying to be creative, and we're every time we meet our team, we're thinking of what's another way that we can connect with our families. One other really exciting component that we added as part of this grant is the what we called Warrior Launch. We know that, as I mentioned, we have that gap between students that are eligible and academically prepared and have the desire to go to college, and then the students that actually end up physically on that college campus. So we created a program called Warrior Launch, which is really closing that gap, and for students that want to go to college, but how do they get there? And many times these are first generation college students that just need some additional support of how do I get my financial aid? What do I do about housing? What does that look like? How do I get help on campus if I'm going to live away from home? So we had 38 students that participated in a summer Warrior Launch transition to college program. And throughout that week long, we started with the parents. We educated them about the different resources that the students were going to engage in. We made sure parents knew, here's some of the things that you need to make sure you have for your child. Here's where you go to help. Here's how you understand that financial aid report and everything from the university. What is work study? What does that mean? And then working throughout the week, each day was a different theme for the students. So where to go for help. We focused a whole day on mental health for the students and how to access that, taking care of that, as we know that that's a huge component, especially that first year away from school. And then at the end of the week, we had a family celebration, and students that completed the week, they received a $500 stipend that they could then take and put toward their college expenses. We also gave away a number of, essential things that college students need, like extension cords and phone chargers and laundry baskets and all of the different things that, if any of you have had someone go to college, it seems like an endless list of things as you start going through the store to buy all of those things that they need. So really that Warrior Launch, helping those students transition and leaving high school and being prepared to walk onto that campus and knowing where that support is going to be for them. And then also making those connections that they know we are still here, even though they've left high school, they still have access to us to return, and parents as well. So we want to make sure that network, we want them to know that, that support of their students post-secondary pursuits doesn't end when that student walks across that stage with that diploma. We're going to continue to support that student and that family to make sure that they see that all the way to graduation. So this is one of our vans you can see here. We really like them. We have two of them. Like I said, this one is our passenger van. So it's a 15-passenger van. So I'm sure many of you are also limited. We are limited for field trips during the day from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. That is our window that we can leave campus and be back on campus. Well, it's kind of hard to do a meaningful college visit or an industry visit or get out and do something in the community in that very short window. And so with this passenger van, our jog van as we refer to it, is able to take students on college visit, industry tours, different community opportunities, and we're not limited by that school window of the school bus transportation. So both of our vans, both the mobile outreach van and our passenger van, both look the same. They've got our branding on the outside saying join us on our journey. And then the mobile outreach van, as I mentioned, has the Wi-Fi and computers and air conditioning, which is key at some point, and desks and all the resources in that we can be out and be basically a mobile school office out in the community. So I want to highlight, they did a brief little highlight about the work that we're doing here in Warren Township that they highlighted. And so I'm going to share this and hopefully it will work.
Data shows that kids enrolling in college here in the Hoosier State continue to decline. I'm WRTV's Adam Schooms. How one local school is working to address that while also setting up the next generation for success.
And you'll go to plans.
I want to be different so I can be a change in my community.
Jace Wells is now a senior at Warren Central High School.
You know what you're going to major in?
Nursing.
Nursing, wonderful.
Wells hopes to one day be a pillar in the community.
So that people can see past the image that's put on as being a black young male in the far east side of Indianapolis.
Which is why Jace is inside of MSD Warren Township's new outreach bus.
Complete at least a Core 40 or higher diploma.
Preparing for life after high school.
Filling out your applications and deadlines and sending.
Because sometimes students and people in our generation are doing multiple things that they shouldn't have business doing. And it just gives a different look on the young people.
This van that's equipped with technology, resources, Wi-Fi, and we'll be able to go out into the community and meet our families where they are.
MSD of Warren Township says the mobile outreach van was purchased with money from a nearly $1.5 million grant from the Richard M. Fairbanks Foundation. The goal is to reverse declining college enrollment numbers around Marion County. The Indiana Commission for Higher Education shows a decline of nearly 20% since 2008.
Transportation, translation, all of the things that we know are going to increase college enrollment. We're going to get kids on campus, have them see themselves there, remove that transportation and cost barrier for our families.
It's about bridging the gap.
All of his tuition and books and everything will be covered.
And creating hope for the next generation in ways they may never have imagined.
Always try to explore something new, even though if it seems hard or challenging.
On the road to college, Adam Schooms, WRTV.
So just really excited to be able to highlight some of the things that we're doing. It's really fun to get the van out in the community. We're planning we will have the outreach van at, we had it at our football game last Friday. We're going to continue to do that. We have it scheduled for literacy nights throughout the district. And then, like I said, partnering with our faith-based organizations, YMCA, different places that we know our families can be in the community, and really helping them answer questions, get them access at the elementary and middle school level, just helping build that awareness with our students and families, and catching those families that have older students at the high school, making sure that they have the knowledge and resources to close that gap. So our next step, we are excited. Last year in our journey of a graduate center, our enrollment at the high school is about 3,400 students. We, through the grant, have been able to hire 2 full-time individuals that are employed through the grant through 2028. And their sole purpose is to really provide that access to whatever that post-secondary goal is. So the journey of a graduate center is not just college focused. It really is on helping them access and be prepared for whatever that post-secondary goal is for them. So we have 2 full-time individuals that is their pure dedication. Students can self-refer to them. The parents, there is a way for parents to refer and ask for the Journey of a Graduate Center staff to see their students. Counselors refer students to that as well. And then additionally, they push out into the classroom so that 21st century scholars, those annual tasks that they have to complete each year to remain eligible for their scholarship, they are out in those classrooms every year making sure all of our scholars complete those 4 required tasks. Like I said, with our freshman and sophomore class, the majority of our students are 21st century scholars. And so really we're hitting all of our students so that we're not leaving anyone out. And even if they're not a scholar, the information that we're sharing is beneficial because it's talking about financial aid. It's talking about identifying a college, how you research that, all of those skills that all of our students need to know pursuing any kind of post-secondary education. Our goal is this year that we're going to hit every student in the high school to be served by the Jog Center or the mobile outreach van in some way, shape, or form. We have our 2 dedicated college and career professionals, as well as our 9 12 school counselors. And then we also have 2 academic coaches that all support the academic journey of all of our students. Our goal is to increase our college enrollment in the next year by next fall, that we would increase from 38% to 48% of college enrollment for our students. And we saw it from just the first semester. We just brought on our second full-time person this school year, but in the short period of time that we started with the grant, we saw a slight increase in our English language learners enrollment in college. And we believe part of that is attributed to, that was one of the first things that we did, was provide paid translation services, as well as technology immediately when we first received the grant. And I believe just having those resources available at every college and career fair and event that we've had, that has really helped begin to impact that specific community. So we're optimistic that we're going to continue to see those numbers increase. Very fortunate that we've been able to have the support of Richard M. Fairbanks, and yes, that has been huge, but there's so much of what we're doing that can be done on a smaller scale or with your existing people. And so I have Tabitha and I's information here, and then I know Tabitha wants to have a minute to chat just a little bit about how the family engagement role has really supported and where they're going to take this.
Thank you, Laura. That was great. So I think Laura really hit on a lot of the family engagement key areas, key focuses that we see and talk about on a daily basis. So meeting families where they are, that mobile outreach van does that great. I really think that we have created a welcoming space for our families to access that through the Mediaplex Jog Center inside of the high school and those outreach vehicles. So if you have a family that's not totally comfortable coming in to the school building, we're still going to meet you where you are. So I think that's great, really focusing and hitting the dual capacity framework there. We've been culturally and linguistically responsive with our translation services and our folks that are going to be at events translating in person, so that again, we're meeting the needs of all of our families. And then really leveraging the trusted community partners to be out in the community and again, meet our families where they are. Laura mentioned the YMCA. We love them as a partner. We are constantly using their facility to meet our families there, whether it's in the morning at summer camp drop off, or in the evening at summer camp pickup, or just having somebody from Warren Township in the family hub just to be there for questions. You never know when you're going to meet a family at the time that they need that. So I think we're really trying to be creative and really be out in the community as often as possible so that we can hit those families that are so often marginalized and that we don't hear from or connect with all of the time. With that, do we have any questions about what we're doing here in Warren to increase our college and career readiness with our students and with our families?
Tabitha, I would add, we just had a jog team, as we refer to it. Shows up on my calendar as like little running shoes on my Google Calendar. Our jog team this morning, we were talking about, when we're at literacy nights and different events at the different schools, what that looks like. And so one of the ways we're envisioning that, not only just advertising to our families, do you have a senior? Do you have a high schooler that's a 21st century scholar? Let's create your FSA ID now so that when your student files their FAFSA in the fall, and did you know they have to file a FAFSA? It's now part of graduation requirements, sharing that, but also having, we're going to have a spinning wheel with prizes and little stickers and things that we know elementary kids love, coloring sheets, but just talking to kids. Do you know what is a career? What, a picture with careers, color in the career here that you think you'd like to do. Having different things to engage that conversation with our families and our students, to have them talking about college and careers, sharing with our families resources and websites. Like, we utilize Zello. So that is a Colleging for Readiness platform, K-12. So another opportunity whenever our jog van is out is being able to share with parents. You can have your Zello account and you can see what your child is interested in doing and helping develop that capacity of those families to be able to have those conversations about opportunities. Doing the same thing at the middle school level, developmentally at that level. Like, what are you good at? What are you interested in? What subjects, how do you see science that you love now connecting to a career? So really helping our families at those events have the modeling those conversations and then giving the parents and families resources on how to continue those conversations and where to go for more information.
And celebrating those milestones along the way with our
Absolutely.
families.
Tabitha and Laura, question. So you talked just now, you named several things that answer my question. But having experienced this through the funding of a grant, are there practices or things that you could suggest to those of us that don't have the grant? Are there things that you're learning from this experience that you would maybe highlight as just really important steps that maybe we could think about?
I
Those of
can
us
tell
without
you,
the van.
yeah, so I can tell you, and Tabitha, feel free to speak, to join in. I can tell you, um, I'm going to take the Warrior Launch, the summer program that we did for those seniors, right? So we did that during summer school. So there were already buses coming to the school. So we utilized, the building was already there, the space was already there. We already had security. And so we provided the students the buses. Now, we had in the grant Uber passes that we wrote into it. So if students didn't, we ran it a little bit differently than summer school hours. However, if we didn't have that, I would have run it during summer school hours so that they would have a bus ride there and home, right? So I think taking advantage of existing systems that are already there is helpful. So running that during summer school, great way. We already have the system in place. We can add more students on there and bring them into the building, right? Like I said, we have this beautiful van. You need a table, and if you want, it's nice if you have shade, right? So if you invest in those pop-up tents, go a little extra. You can even brand it, but you can go out in the community and take your 21st Century Scholar flyers, educate parents about that. Invest Ed for us is probably one of the most amazing high school financial aid resources, and if you're not taking advantage of them, you should. They're a wealth of knowledge, and they'll work with our students at our events, but also individually, you can call them. They're just some really dedicated and amazing people. So, just drawing upon the opportunities to do that. I know, like, financially, sometimes, when you run into teacher contracts or counselor contracts, like if you want counselors to work those additional evenings, being able to pay them extra sometimes isn't an option, but would your school district be willing to flex their time? So if you want to have a weekend event, do you let them have a personal day on another day, right? Do you, if you, like how we do for our jog staff, if they work an evening event, they get to flex their time on like Friday or Monday. They can come in like a half day later, or they can leave early. Is there some flexibility that you can offer within your school that doesn't cost you money, but allows you to be able to provide those evening and weekend experiences for the families? I will tell you, we've learned in hindsight, and we've done this with, Tabitha can speak to, we navigated this with liaisons as well. And I think my tip for that would be, if you're going to do any kind of flexible scheduling, that you are very explicit about when and how that's used and the time frame and that process, right? Because the clear, as Brene Brown says, clear is kind. That the more explicit you are about that system can work. But I think you have to be very, very directed and very strict about how that works, But I think that's one flexible way of being able to do that. Getting Chromebooks, if you have Chromebooks in your building, taking that cart out with you getting a single hotspot. A hotspot will serve several computers. So really, minimal expenses there to really be able to create that mobile outreach. I think our hotspot, the one that we only have one for the van because they said it would, I think, serve 15 to 20 computers at a time. So, just again, still some expenses, but minimal on the sense of being able to find some funding for that and then being able to take that, out into the community. What we have found is when we can get our families and our students to where they need to be, whether that's an event in the community or at the school, if we can make sure they get there, our engagement and attendance is stellar. They want to be there. They want to engage. They want to be part. So any way we have found that we can eliminate that, like I said, we did Uber, and that was pretty successful. If you need to know how to set up very specific Uber passes, I can help you with that because I figured out, because I raised my own teenager, so I thought of all the ways to work around a free Uber pass. So we figured all that out. But again, that's an additional expense. But when you've got buses running anyway, take advantage of that, right?
Tap into your regional stakeholder group too for families who speak Spanish or another language and utilize them as well, build up their capacity and their confidence with this so that they can have conversations with other families, but also utilizing them. I think that because we bought those Translate Live devices, those are thousands of dollars, but you can easily have a human right there with you at these events. And I think that's really going to build relationships there too. So I think that's an easy way to get around the language barrier, is tapping into your parent groups as well.
Another incentive we found is swag, right? So if you can't pay your translators, can you get them some high school hoodies or hats or rally towels, or we, through the grant, something that's been very popular again on the district level, might be an easier way for them to invest, is we had Proud Parent of a Warrior shirt made, and then we offered those when families created their FSA ID. They got a t-shirt or a towel, different things like that. So there, if you have people that are coming and willing to help translate, again, how can you get creative? Can you provide them with some district swag that way? Can you provide them with some comp time if your district allows that? Different ways to be creative. So because you want to acknowledge their time and talent that they're providing, but even if you can't pay them, there are ways that we can acknowledge that and provide them. If they're an employee and an IA and they are willing to come and translate, can they get a preferred parking spot for a month, right? Like there's all sorts of different things that we can do as incentives to acknowledge their investment that doesn't cost us money. Don't hesitate to reach out. Like Tabitha said, sometimes community partners have things they can donate and they're willing to give. Like here in Indianapolis, we have like Indians games and Pacers and Fever. Are there people that would be willing to donate something that you could give in exchange for individuals that are willing to give of their time?
I think you started talking a little bit about how you utilize students in this. Weren't you touching on a little bit how you utilize students in this process too?
We do utilize the students for, you mean in terms of some of the outreach and
Yeah.
And that we also, are you talking about, we have our ambassador program as well?
Okay. I just heard you start talking about how they were involved in this outreach, and maybe it was connected to the video more. And I just wrote it down as a note, as how just getting students involved. I thought that was great, but I couldn't really put my
I will tell you, somewhat unrelated but related. One of our other successful kind of ways that we've gotten students involved in that college and career readiness continuum is we have, we're fortunate our career center is attached to our high school. But I know many school districts have access to a career center and different programs. we bring our Career Center students to our middle schoolers. So our Career Center comes over to our 3 middle school buildings in the spring, and they bring hands-on. So they bring like our virtual welding machine. They bring they have a virtual like where you like you paint a car. They bring the TV camera. They bring the cosmetology, whatever you call. I forget. Words are hard. I've used a lot of words this morning.
Stylist, the nails,
Yeah.
the merchandising program. They bring all the small pieces of their programs over to the middle school so that those middle school students get excited about the possibilities and the future that they have at the high school. So I think that's a great bridge from middle school to high school. Again, getting our students excited about what's to come.
Right, because Tabitha's daughter experienced that and came home. I think she was going to be 4 different careers all at once.
Yes.
And and again, we're building those job skills, right? We're helping those students become leaders and communicators. And your cost for that really is just the cost of getting those students from their career center to the school. And then while they're there, we run as many students through that as possible. So and so they really, and you know, what middle school kid doesn't, it's a lot less intimidating to go and talk to a high school student that's standing there than somebody that looks like me. Or I'm going to throw Tabitha in there too, or Tabitha, right? Like these adults were scary, but like you bring those high school students over, those kids are much more likely to go up and ask questions and that as well. So, and then Jeremy, we also have the ambassador program that we partner our newcomers with students that are new to us that typically don't speak any English, and that they basically spend that first week of high school with them, helping them navigate that high school day. And so that's been another real success for our non-English speaking students. Again, I think too, indirectly, as a parent, I know that our families know, like, you know, if my student is going to be paired with someone that's going to help them that first week, think about the relief that that provides to that parent that just brought their kid that has maybe only been in the country days, weeks. I've just dropped them into a high school of 3,400 students.
And then, of course, we utilize our student news, our radio, our news programs as well to spread the word there. So again, that's hearing the message about college and career readiness from other high schoolers as well.
We also take our 4th graders on field trip to the Career Center. So we pile all of our 4th graders up on the bus and they go over with their teachers, and then the students lead tours and they get to see the Career Center with all of the programs and that. So again, in elementary, we start talking about, you know, here's what you can do when you get to high school. And then really making sure our families know that, so that when they go home, they can continue those conversations at home.
Well, I want to thank you guys for really showing what you guys can do on the college and career readiness for students, for families overall, and giving us some great ideas and tips, and see what we can do at the different districts across the state.
You are watching a technical assistance video provided by the Family Effect Project, engagement for families, educators, and the community together, funded through a grant to insource the Indiana Statewide Family Engagement Center. Every learner, every family, every educator.